Hi, this is Joe with the Recklessly Skeptical podcast. I don't even know if we're recording. Over here we have...
My name's Matt.
And...
My name is Josh.
You can find this podcast on YouTube and Spreaker. That's Recklessly Skeptical. Also, come to our individual channels on YouTube. That would be The Evil Atheist and ZZZ Giant Awake. Also, check out our Facebook group page, The Evil Atheists. And email us
at recklesslyskeptical@gmail.com.
Do it. It's fun. We have
Do
no
it now.
emails. We have no emails yet. It's pissing me off.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
You don't like Joe when he's
I
angry.
just want one of you guys, just even if you email us and say, fuck you, we can still talk about it online or on the podcast. It'll be fun.
We totally will.
We will. I totally will.
Yes, and we're going to get on iTunes this week because Matt promised me. He pinky swore. So either you guys will have that also available or I will have Matt's pinky.
Hey, are we recording?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. I just wanted to make sure.
Good.
We fucked with Joe right before this and acted like we were recording, and we really weren't.
And I came in with the intro and everything, and they both just sat here and stared at me, and I was like, what the fuck's going on?
You got to do something to liven the mood.
Alrighty, should we get started?
Let's get started.
Let's do.
All right, guys. So we have another quote I'm going to read from The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine.
Do you have any dumber quotes? Quotes that I'll understand.
You'll understand this one, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Matt's stolen thoughts.
This is my stolen thoughts, guys. Here we go. Quote, "When I am told that a woman called the Virgin Mary said or gave out that she was with child without any cohabitation with a man, and that her betrothed husband Joseph said that an angel told him so, I have a right to believe them or not. Such a circumstance required a much stronger evidence than their bare word for it. But we have not even this, for neither Joseph nor Mary wrote any such matter themselves. It is only reported by others that they said so. It is hearsay upon hearsay, and I do not choose to rest my belief upon such evidence."
And
I like it.
yeah, and remember, this is in the 18th century, so in the 1770s that this was, or 1700s that this was written, and it was by one of our founding fathers. So even they back then were skeptical about the Mary Joseph bullshit story.
Yep.
Yeah, anytime anyone comes up to you and says, our founding fathers would turn over in their graves with all you guys taking Christianity out of the schools, just smack them in the head and be like, no, our founding fathers were most likely deists, possibly atheists. They were not Christian.
Yeah, and don't smack them in the head. Smack them in the nose with the newspaper and be like, no.
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 Bad Christian.
Bad Christian. No.
No.
Alrighty.
I'm okay with that. I'm going to start carrying a newspaper with me. Just anytime a Christian says something stupid, I'm just going to be like, no. No.
I like it.
I'm down. I like it a lot.
So-
So what's the next story?
It's pretty dumb. So this is coming from New York Daily News.
Should I have my newspaper ready?
Yes, definitely for this one.
Hold on.
It's sad because somebody died, but it's just fucking ridiculous. So a gunman fatally shoots Pennsylvania churchgoer after fight over seat at Sunday service.
For real?
Yeah. So, quote, "A churchgoer shot a fellow parishioner in a Pennsylvania church after a fight broke out over a seat in the sanctuary on Sunday. The argument started when a churchgoer told Robert Braxton, 27 years old, he was sitting in seats reserved for two other church members during Sunday service at the Keystone Fellowship Church," District Attorney Kevin Still said. He yelled, "Don't fucking touch me," after a church member tapped him on the shoulders to let him know he was in someone else's seat. Witnesses said Braxton started causing a fuss over the seat, but soon calmed down after talking to a church usher and a pastor. But the situation soon turned violent when Mark Storms, 46 years old, approached Braxton, carrying a gun in his hand and telling the 27-year-old to get out of the sanctuary. The gun-toting suspect then flashed a concealed weapons permit badge, which the district attorney's office believes was purchased online. When he came over, he had a gun out, escalating the situation, Steele said at a press conference on Thursday. Braxton then took a swing at the defendant, punching him in the jaw. "Fuck you and your fake badge. Get the fuck out of here," witnesses recalled Braxton telling Storms. "That's not a real gun," another witness remembered hearing. Just before punching Storms, Braxton asked, "What are you going to do, shoot me?" According to the court records. The gunman then opened fire, blasting Braxton once in the chest and again in the right arm. Braxton was rushed to a local hospital where he died from his multiple gunshot wounds. The 46-year-old gunman was arrested and charged with voluntary manslaughter and reckless endangerment.
Yeah.
Isn't that fucking crazy? At a church, start fighting over a fucking chair, and you pull out a gun and you fucking shoot somebody?
Excuse me? Did you just say chair? Don't you mean pew?
Oh, pew pew.
Yeah, that is a really shitty story, actually. Like, it's one of those ones that is a little gut wrenching, because you can imagine that happening to like your mom or your dad or something like that, and just somebody at a church. Like, you would hope that a church would be safe, but I mean, and I don't want to make this into like a Second Amendment issue, or I don't want to talk about it in that sense, but like, why would you need to carry a gun to church, and why would you ever fucking pull out a gun at church? Like, it makes me sick.
Well, I could see why. You know, I'm for more gun control, but I'm also for the Second Amendment, and I could see why you would carry a gun at church. There's been shootings there, you know, and I'm not justifying this guy's actions in any way. And I completely agree with you, Josh. Why the fuck would you pull it out, especially over a situation like this? The only reason you pull out your firearm is when you feel that your life is in danger. And that's the only time you should pull out your firearm. And this guy pulls it out over a fucking pew, and apparently had some fake concealed carry permit that he bought online. So he probably didn't even have the gun legally. It's fucking bullshit. And
I got a friend who has a concealed weapons permit, and he bought one of the concealed weapon badges. And I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, man, because you're giving off this false impression that you're some sort of official, you know, with a gun, when you're not. You just have your concealed weapons permit.
Yeah.
I think that's weird. I always thought that was weird.
I didn't even know they had badges like that until
you
this
can
story.
get a concealed weapons badge, and I just think, I think it's fucking
dumb.
stupid.
I have my concealed carry permit. It's in my wallet. If I needed to pull it out to show a police officer, I would pull it out of my wallet and hand it to him.
Exactly.
I don't need a fucking badge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and nobody needed to die, and it sucks. Somebody did. Yeah. And violence happens in churches over stupid shit sometimes. Like, I've seen some fights break out in churches a couple of different times.
Really?
Yeah. And it was during extracurricular activities, not actually in that. And I've seen an argument at a funeral. That was pretty shitty too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Arguments at funerals are ugly because, it's like family and really close family friends usually, and I mean, those types of things like get you, like, you don't know what to do emotionally with some of the stuff that you're dealing with when you're grieving, and taking it out on a family member over a seating, or even a fellow churchgoer who you've never met, shouldn't be a primary issue.
Yeah.
But I guess this guy really liked that chair. I mean, maybe, and I can only put it into terms that, like, a Mormon church, it's like maybe you could see up some church choir lady's skirt or something. Like, why does a fucking chair matter?
Yeah, it's like, hey, you're in someone's spot. These seats are reserved. Oh, okay, I'll move over here. And then what's funny is that guy was being a dick, and he shouldn't have been being a dick. And then this other fucking dick comes up with a gun. Yeah, I don't know. They both were out of line. The guy shouldn't have died. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
The guy should not. He escalated the situation. Apparently, they were saying they had it calmed down. They had him calming down when
the other guy brought the gun.
The other guy with the gun comes walking up. It's like, you know what? You fucking douchebag. You know, you need to sit down.
And it sounded like neither person respected what the fuck a gun was. Like, you don't ever try and egg someone with a gun on to pull out their gun and prove that they're a man. And if you have a gun, you never, like Matt said, you never pull it out unless your life's in danger. Like, it sounded like neither of them were adult in that situation.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in my younger days, in my younger days,
Charwin.
Yeah. But I have had guns pulled on me by police and people who were not the police, who probably shouldn't have a gun. And every time I've ever had a gun pulled on me, I've acted extremely respectful, hands up, whatever. It's like, all right, yep, okay.
Yeah, and if I were ever held up, I would just comply. And I mean, like, it's shitty because even if you comply, it's still not in your hands. Like, it doesn't give you control over the situation just because you're obeying what that person's telling you to do. But still, like, at least that gives them the option to de-escalate the situation and leave.
Exactly. And see, and also I have a gun. I have a concealed weapons permit. Like Matt, I believe in more gun control, but I also believe in my Second Amendment. Another main reason why, well, here's the thing. Like, I would never pull out my gun. I've never pulled out my gun. I'm not walking around scared thinking I'm going to need to, but I have it there just in case. I do have kids. I have daughters that I worry about, so I have my gun. Also, my first line of defense against a tyrannical government is my ability to vote, which it looks like we're losing that. And then my last line of defense against a tyrannical government is my right to bear arms. And that's one reason why I'm a strong believer in the Second Amendment. But I do believe in more gun control.
And we've debated this off air, and maybe we should debate it again, because I don't believe that. I don't go along with that line of thinking that guns would help in a situation where the government became a dictatorship, but that's a different story for a different time.
I guess we could use rocks and Molotov cocktails. That'd be just fine.
I don't believe you have a gun, Joe. What? You're not going to pull it out. What are you going to do, shoot me?
Shoot him, Joe!
I'm going to shoot you now! Pew, 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 pew!
All right, so let's go on to the next story, which is just as bad.
Yeah, this is really bad. This is coming from Oklahoma, and it's being reported by Raw Story. So Oklahoma court rules that forced oral sex is not rape if victim is unconscious during or from drinking. So let me... an Oklahoma court has stunned local prosecutors with a declaration that state law doesn't criminalize oral sex with a victim who is completely unconscious. The ruling, a unanimous decision by the state's criminal appeals court, is sparking outrage among critics who say the judicial system was engaged in victim blaming and buying outdated notions about rape. But legal experts and victims advocates say they viewed the ruling as a sign of something larger, the troubling gaps that still exist between the nation's patchwork of laws and evolving ideas about rape and consent.
Yeah. That's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, like, hard to comprehend ridiculous.
So if you guys want to hear where the case that kind of led to this, the case involved allegations that a 17-year-old boy assaulted a girl 16 after volunteering to give her a ride home. The two had been drinking in a Tulsa park with a group of friends when it became clear that the girl was badly intoxicated. Witnesses recalled that she had to be carried into the defendant's car. Another boy who briefly rode in the car recalled her coming in and out of consciousness. The boy later brought the girl to her grandmother's house, still unconscious. The girl was taken to a hospital where a test put her blood alcohol content above .34. She awoke as staff were conducting a sexual assault examination. And tests later confirmed that the young man's DNA was found on the back of her leg and around her mouth.
Yeah, that's disgusting, and I actually would have been fine not going into the case details, but God damn it. I don't know how that can hold up in court. Like, I especially with the way that our understanding of laws is going, that consent is necessary for it to not be rape. And it doesn't mean, like, you need to have verbal consent every time. It just means that there needs to be some physical indicators saying, yeah, I'm inviting on this action, such as reciprocative kissing and so forth. Like, if the action's reciprocated, then you're good to go.
Yeah, but if someone's passed out drunk...
Yeah, they can't reciprocate. They can't orally say, "Yeah, let's do this," and they can't, like, voluntarily go down on you. Like,
Yeah.
and those types of things are the indicators that, yeah, indeed, this person is voluntarily doing it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope that and I don't know if the prosecutors can. I hope that this becomes a case that can get pulled up by the Supreme Court. I think that this is something that I would even trust the Supreme Court from before Scalia passed away to get right, and probably unanimously. And so hopefully also the other thing that can happen, where was this case at?
Oklahoma.
And it was the state Supreme Court?
I believe so.
So all that would need to happen to fix this is for the legislature in Oklahoma to write that law.
So the ruling, a unanimous decision by the state's criminal appeals court.
So yeah, I mean, the state Supreme Court could then correct it. You wouldn't need to go to the Supreme Court. But I don't know if it's something that can be appealed if it's a criminal lawsuit because a state lost. And so like that's disgusting. That
it's pretty awful
that can even be passed. And hopefully Oklahoma state legislature, hopefully there's enough outcry, because it's going to take some outcry, because it always takes outcry for the legislature to get off their asses if there's not money involved. Goes and writes in that, yes, you need consent for it to not be rape, and oral sex falls under that type of act. Because all you need to do is just make it apparent, and then the justice system has to understand it the way that it's written or intended to be written.
So to kind of get off topic, you mentioned Scalia, and I saw an article. I just want to read the title because it's pretty interesting. So
Okay.
Rick Wiles, he's an End Times pastor. He's a Cruz supporter. And he recently used numerology to prove Obama sacrificed Scalia in pagan ritual.
Oh, dear God.
These delusional motherfuckers.
Numerology. That's what we need more of in this world. Fuck science. We just need numbers to play around with over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And did you know if you ran pi to a long enough number, you'd get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9?
Ooh, really?
Yeah, because it's an irrational number. So every natural set of numbers that can possibly come out of it will eventually come out of it.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's crazy. But numerology is about as founded as I'm trying to think of something as the Noah's flood story. All right, so. Okay, so what we're going to do essentially for the rest of this section is talk about Hillary Clinton kind of assuming that Bernie Sanders supporters are going to come to her now that she's put Bernie Sanders in a really tough spot to win. I really only see the one path of him coming back, which is if she gets indicted before California, which even then it's not the likeliest of scenarios, because if she gets indicted at California or afterwards, she'll probably have enough delegates to still win, which would create a fuck ton of confusion on the Democratic side. Or if they wait for her to actually have the nomination and then that drops, then that's going to create a completely strange situation where she can't drop. Like, she can't say, oh, now I'm dropping and Bernie Sanders has the Democratic nomination. That's just not typically how it works. But Bernie Sanders at that point could run as an independent and have the nod from the Democratic Party in a roundabout way. But let's. This is from the town hall. It was recorded on April 25th. This was right before Pennsylvania and the other 4 states did their election. And so here's her opinions. And I'll just let this clip play.
There's back to back. At this point in the primary, I think a lot of people think no matter who gets the nomination, there is something that has changed in the Democratic primary because of this contest. I think a lot of people would describe it as sort of Senator Sanders kind of putting his mark on the party, that after this contest, the Democratic Party may be more populist, more aggressive on economic inequality, maybe more progressive overall. Do you see it that way?
Well, I think that what we've had is a very spirited contest. Certainly, we share a lot of the same goals. We have a commitment to doing something about inequality, more good jobs with rising incomes. We have a commitment to try to, counter the much too heavy influence that money has, particularly by overturning Citizens United. So I think we diagnose the problem in very similar ways. But as I have said repeatedly, it's not enough just to diagnose the problem. You have to have solutions. You have to be able to demonstrate you can achieve results. And that's why throughout this campaign, I've been laying out plans. I've been talking about what I will do. I've been as specific as it's possible to be in a campaign. And I think voters respond to that. That's why, you know, I do have far more votes than anybody else on either side. So I think it's because people want not just to understand better what we think the problem is, but what are we going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, that's what the real outcome should be about.
So, Joe, what do you think about that?
She just gave her usual politician fucking runaround answer. Yeah, nobody's going to switch to her. There's too many Bernie or bus. Half of the damn nation believes the system is rigged now. The voting system is rigged, and they think she's a part of it. I've heard more Clinton supporters say they will back Bernie if he gets the nomination, but I really haven't heard any Bernie Sanders supporters say they will back her. I'm not going to back her. You might as well vote Republican if you vote for her. One, she's not going to win against Trump. She's getting further and further down in the polls against Trump. And she is a fucking Republican. If you look at her fucking voting record, it's Republican. She's a fucking Republican in a pantsuit. Either way, a vote for her is a vote for a Republican, whether she wins or Donald Trump wins. It doesn't matter. And I'm going with my conscience here. I'm voting for Bernie. I'm going to vote for the
right candidate.
The right candidate. I'm not going to fucking, the good guy didn't get in, so let me vote for this bad guy because they're on the good guy's side. What? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Fuck you. Fuck the Democratic Party. Fuck the Republican Party.
And
I'm a Bernie-crat all the way 100%. I'm never voting for Hillary Clinton.
And Matt, what are your thoughts?
So I've actually seen quite a few Bernie supporters that will vote for.
Those are trolls.
No, they're like friends and fellow YouTubers that do feel, and I'm not saying I agree with them, but they do feel that Bernie or that Hillary is better than Trump.
That's really smart of them.
And I agree at some level, but I definitely don't think a lot of them will say that Hillary is way better than a Republican, and I wouldn't say she's way better, but she's a little bit better.
Hillary has already came out and said she has moved way too left for Bernie supporters already.
Yeah,
so how much more right is she going to go if she gets the nomination?
And that's the feeling that I get. And there's a couple things that she was absolutely dishonest about in that. And that's that Bernie Sanders doesn't have a clear platform. He absolutely does.
It's very clear.
And he's going to break up. If he became president, he would do what he needs to do to break up the big banks with support, as well as to take certain actions. But that's sorry, 1 second. And then the other thing that I feel that she was being dishonest about is that she wants to overturn Citizens United. I have absolutely no faith that she wants to overturn Citizens United.
No, not at all.
I mean, this is the system that has favored her, and the system that is going to get her into office if she assumes the presidency, and also the system that that Barack Obama talked about repealing, and he hasn't done shit about it.
Yeah.
And I have no reason to believe that she'll do shit about it.
She won't, and I don't know. Well, she is a scam artist. There's so much fraud and lies behind her and scandals behind her. When she was in office the whole 8 years or however long, it was nothing but scandals and scams. She didn't do anything when she was in office. She's part of the problem, and people will all vote for her because I don't want a Republican. It's like it's the same fucking people. You vote for Trump, you vote for Clinton, you're gonna get the same fucking person.
No, I disagree.
Not necessarily. Well, yeah, little things here and there, but I mean, all in all, yes.
Well, and I think we're gonna see. So, talking about Trump for half a second, because I really want to move on to the next clip. He is going to pivot left on a lot of things, and he's actually starting to try to appeal to Bernie supporters already.
Yeah,
he's saying that Bernie got screwed over. He's been really light on Bernie Sanders because I think that that's what he's going to do is try and appeal to the Bernie Sanders bloc, and I don't think that we should give in to that. I think that Bernie or bust is the appropriate thing if you're not going to vote for Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I will never vote for Trump.
Yeah. And so
Not a chance in hell.
Let's move on to the next clip. And actually, before we do that, one last thing I want to say is the presidency is not in position to overturn Citizens United. You would need to do a Supreme Court justice to do that. And Bernie Sanders said that's his litmus test for deciding who he would put in on the Supreme Court is if they would promise him that they would work to overturn Citizens United. And Hillary Clinton will not commit to that same standard. So here we go.
Senator Sanders has been asked about how this all ends. He seems to be saying now that even if you beat him in the primary, it's not necessarily a given that he will implore all of his supporters to go out and work for you. He says that he thinks that they'll support you if basically you adopt some of his platform on the issues that are most important to him. He's specifically talked about Wall Street and some other things in his platform.
And I just want to take a quick second to pause there and say that that is a fantastic question.
Does that make sense to you? Is that something that you'd be open to? Are there significant enough differences between you on what you'd like to do, for example, about Wall Street, that's a bridge too far?
Well, Rachel, let's look where we are right now. I've got 10.4 million votes. I have 2.7 million more votes, real people showing up to cast their vote, to express their opinion, than Senator Sanders. I have a bigger lead in pledged delegates than Senator Obama, when I ran against him in 2008, ever had over me. I am winning, and I'm winning because of what I stand for and what I've done and what my ideas are. So, look, I think we have much more in common, and I want to unify the party. But my Wall Street plan is much more specific than his. We saw that when he couldn't even answer questions in the New York Daily News interview. I have laid out a very clear set of objectives about not just reining in the banks, because we already have Dodd-Frank, which President Obama passed and signed. And I've said I will implement it. But I've gone further. He has yet to join me in going after the shadow banking industry. So there are so many areas where I'm more specific, where I have a track record, where I explain what I will do. And I think that's why I have 2.7 million more votes than he does.
Okay, that's where I'm going to pause it because there's a lot there to digest, and
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot of things that we want to. So, Joe, yeah, you shook your head a couple times.
She's a fucking liar, dude. She's such a huge liar, and she's talking about how much more votes she has. Well, is she talking about any of that voter suppression that has gone on in Arizona and Nevada and everywhere fucking else? You know, where people were waiting in line, mile-long lines, waiting to vote when they already called it and said, oh, she won, and people were waiting for 5 hours. All of them were Bernie supporters, you know. Where was her supporters? You know, they voted. They were older people who voted earlier through the mail.
Yeah.
They didn't realize that they could vote through the mail, the Bernie supporters, because they were new voters. And that's the thing. She doesn't have, and they've been changing votes in other states and stuff to match. So the paper votes say Bernie won. Oh, but the machines say Hillary won. So let's erase all the Bernies and put Hillary's name down. They've been doing shit like that all over the fucking place. And she doesn't have more delegates than she did with Barack Obama.
Well, so
compared to Bernie.
Okay, so I think this is a small point, so I don't want to stick on it too long. But the couple of things, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just think that there are bigger points to take from her statements.
Yeah, I was going to continue and just keep going, but
yeah. So voter suppression was a real thing. Her campaign got ahead of any opportunity of there being voter suppression by doing write-in ballots. Like, it seemed like they were aware that there might be some problems at the polling places, so they got well ahead and said, "Hey, do the mail-in ballots." And the reason why she wasn't further behind in delegates at any point, and she might now be further ahead than Barack ever was, is because she had a bunch of superdelegates on her side. So there wasn't this. She had a bunch of superdelegates and then a lot fewer pledged delegates. Then that's what created the massive ratio difference between this race and the last race, and that's it. So before this this vote happened, that was the big difference. All right, you can have it back.
Yeah, but yeah, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I mean, she's part of the propaganda machine. She's going to tell lies, and the news is going to report it, and people are going to believe it. And that's all that is. You know, like right now, we're looking at a brokered convention in the Democratic Party now.
You mean Republican?
No. In the Democratic Party right now, we're looking at a broker. There's no way in hell either of them can get up to the 2,383 delegates that they need right now.
Well, with
it's way too close. It's going to be a brokered convention. He's doing. Do you know what he's polling at right now in California?
Well, but he's
polling at 60%.
A brokered convention sounds different from.
I'm showing that
he's
lower than that.
And a Democratic side. So all it is a brokered convention is that the superdelegates finally cast their vote.
Yeah,
it's not like there's the second or third or fourth thing, and she's just gonna win that. Like at this pace, like there's just no chance that she's not gonna win that.
And I just want to point out that how she said she has a much more clear plan than Bernie. If you go to their individual websites and go look at their plan about breaking up the banks and all that, money out of politics, Bernie's plan is much more specific than her plan.
Yeah, extremely more detailed.
And we talked about Dodd-Frank last time we were on, and I just posted that video a couple of days ago, or last night, so you should be able to find this, the last video that we posted. Dodd-Frank is fucking weak. Dodd-Frank doesn't do anything. It is just like, oh, I'm going to warn you, and then I'm going to give you 6 months to take action. And then I'm going to warn you again and give you another year, and we're going to cut some of your capital so you can't lend out money the same way.
And shit's gotten worse since then. And now the Republicans can say, see, you had regulation and it got worse. Now we need less regulation. So it's bad. It's real bad.
Are you sure it's just the Republicans saying that?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Republicans are the party who want less regulation in general. But, I mean, the Democrats are not doing themselves any favors.
Yeah.
Now, the thing that I want to point out here is the way the question was asked is, Bernie Sanders says that he's going to, and actually, let me pause and play the rest of the video, and then I'm going to fucking tear into it. So there's more of this of her answer that I want to get into.
Am I right in hearing that as basically you saying that there's nothing you're going to do differently than you're already doing as a way to try to win over his supporters, even at the end of the primary season?
Well, let's look what happened in 2008, because that's the closest example. Then Senator Obama and I ran a really hard race. It was so much closer than the race right now between me and Senator Sanders. We had pretty much the same amount of popular vote. By some measures, I had slightly more popular vote. He had slightly more pledged delegates. We got to the end in June, and I did not put down conditions. I didn't say, you know what, if Senator Obama does X, Y, and Z, maybe I'll support him. I said, I am supporting Senator Obama because no matter what our differences might be, they pale in comparison to the differences between us and the Republicans.
Okay, so I'm going to take a second and pause there. So the last question that she asked before this one, she asked if she was going to do anything differently. So she's asking the same question 3 different ways, essentially. How are you going to change to try and get Bernie supporters, Sanders fans, fans? I'm not going to do anything. I'm more progressive. I've got the right policies. That's why I have more votes. But what she fails to understand, and what she absolutely fails to understand, is that we're not behind Bernie Sanders because we're amazed by some old dude who's been in Congress for a while. Like, the reason that a lot of us support Bernie Sanders has nothing to do with anything about Bernie Sanders. It's because he has the right positions. It's not because he is that much of a charismatic personality. So she thinks that, if Bernie Sanders sells out and starts saying, oh yeah, go support Hillary, like, we will abandon him. Like, it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with what we see as a corrupt system. We see the money in politics, and it makes us sick. We see that all of the laws that are being passed on a federal level when it comes to taxes benefit the wealthy. We see that those interests, the banking interests, are the ones that are being favored, and we're tired of it. The Occupy Wall Street movement is what's supporting Bernie Sanders now. We're sick of the system as it is, and Bernie Sanders saying, oh yeah, just vote for Hillary now, is not going to fix it. So what he's saying when he's saying stuff like, hey, she'll need to adopt some of my policies, is not him negotiating anything. It's him actually prescribing what she would need to do to get us to support her. So it's not anything that Bernie has control over, and she fails again and again to understand that. That's why the Bernie or bust system exists.
Yep. And it's going to keep moving too. It's going to keep growing. The more and more people I talk to, the bigger it gets, and that's another issue. that can also help lead superdelegates and more delegates towards us, and more people who would have voted for Hillary to vote for Bernie, because she's not going to win. She's not going to win over this vast majority of people who are Bernie Sanders supporters. She's not going to win them over because she's part of the problem that we want out of there. That's why we want Bernie. And so, and if the DNC and the Democratic Party realizes that, they will start moving their super delegates and all those people over to Bernie Sanders. Because guess what? Come election year, and if it's Trump, Cruz, and Hillary Clinton, I'm going to be fucking sitting at home. I'm just going to let the world burn.
Okay, and one thing I do want to say, I completely disagree with that sympathy. This is the year that we can actually make a difference, because if Trump is the elector, or Cruz, they're both fucking terrible candidates for the Republicans. Like, Republicans do not like either candidate. Yeah. This is the year that we can overturn the Senate and the Congress while having, if Ted Cruz or Trump win, so we can regain the House. And in Utah is one of the reddest states historically. Yeah. And this state said if it was Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, that people would vote Hillary Clinton in. This state has some back-asswards ideas of what should happen, and that was a joke or a play on words. But we have the chance in Utah to actually make this state blue for the first time. I think that we can actually win the governorship, which would be awesome. It's been since like 1984 that we've had a Democratic governor.
Yeah, there's a lot of different elections going on.
Yeah, there's
that we need
a
to vote
lot
for.
of different elections, and I'm going to vote Democrat in most of them. But if it comes Cruz and Clinton, I'll vote for fucking Cruz just to piss her off.
Well, no,
and
vote
that's
for
the thing.
Bernie.
If everybody's yeah, I'll vote for Bernie. I'll write his ass in.
Exactly.
I'm gonna vote for Bernie, and I'm gonna vote our congressmen, congress ladies, or whoever, and our governor who's running against Herbert, or Matt, whatever his name is, running against Herbert. I'm voting for him. He's Democrat. I'm gonna vote Democrat all the way, unless it. And I'm gonna write Bernie in all the way.
All right,
I am never switching over to Hillary ever.
Let's tag in Matt. Matt had some things he wanted to say that we.
Oh well, I was gonna say that you have to vote because there's other things to vote for, and at some point in time, not in recent wars, but at some point in time, people did die so we could vote, and. But I completely understand that feeling of wanting to abstain from voting when our choices are fucking Trump and Hillary.
Yeah, and I had one more clip to play, but we don't have time, so let's kind of wrap it up here. So any final thoughts before we go off air?
Yeah, my whole idea was when I said I'd vote for Ted Cruz over Hillary Clinton, it's because I know most of these Bernie-crats as well, and most of the people on the Hillary side are all ready to vote for Democrats in Congress and in your local states and, your local government and everything. I do believe that this year is going to be a huge change in our government and government policies because of who we are going to vote in. And that's one reason why I said I'd vote for Ted Cruz over Hillary, because I know Ted Cruz wouldn't be able to get anything done with the huge Democrat change we're going to have this year.
Hopefully.
But
we need to
I
show
don't
up.
want to vote for Ted Cruz just as much as I don't want to fucking vote for Hillary Clinton. And I don't think the Democratic Party realizes that that's how most of the Bernie or bust people are. We look at Ted Cruz and we see Hillary Clinton. We look at Hillary Clinton, we see Ted Cruz. There's no difference in our eyes. Because all the policies they stand for, everything they do, they're a little different, but Hillary isn't really all that different when it comes to abortion. She fucking still wants to make it illegal, just like the fucking Republicans do.
I don't know about that. Like,
no.
Her voting history has not been exactly the same, but I think that's enough to chew on. Check out her voting history, and get the big picture on how pro-corporate that she has been. All right, so thank you guys for watching. Be sure to email us.
Yep.
It's recklesslyskeptical@gmail. Check out our YouTube pages, The Evil Atheists and ZZZ Giant Awake. Are there any plugs I'm missing? I feel like I'm missing one.
Go to Facebook, The Evil Atheist, and remember,
The group
atheist
page.
is plural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
all
you
right.
guys.
And until next time, think skeptically.
And stay positive.
I love you.
I walked over to your window. I looked inside. And I saw your